Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with London-based speaker, author, mentor, and entrepreneur Jay Tepley. A lifelong geek and a dedicated researcher, she offers world-class personal evolution training for A players in marketing, coaching, and community building to help them fly high and achieve beyond what other people think is possible. Over the last 20 years, her New Era superhero program showed many men across the globe the path to increase revenue, success, impact, and personal fulfillment through helping them connect with their soul purpose. Her charity work supporting mental health through lightsaber training has been featured in The Guardian, The Jeremy Vine Show, and BBC One. She's got a great story. Enjoy this interview.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure.
So before we get into your life as an international speaker, author, entrepreneur, coach, there's so much that goes on in your world. You know, right now, especially when we look at the calendar, I think we all go back to 3 years ago and when the world shut down. But now the world's in a different place. It's opening up. So I'm curious, how did you survive that COVID time period? And how has it changed the way that you live your life and conduct business now?
All right. Well, it didn't really change much for me because I work internationally. So most of my students, actually all of my students at this point, work with me online. And so it didn't matter at all. The only difference I would say is that I used to run boot camps, which are infield training in some really magical locations around the world. And that created an outstanding, mind-blowing effect in a very short time. And so that was put on hold, obviously, but then it got resumed straight after.
So let's get a better handle on exactly what you do for a living, what you do on a regular basis. So I'm going to hypothetically put you in front of a bunch of third graders at an elementary school for a career day. You're in front of them. One of the kids looks up at you and says, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Well, if I talk to kids, I will simply say that I help people train their mind to become stronger and succeed.
So how would you explain what you do to an older guy like me?
Well, I would say exactly what I do, which is I'm a sole purpose mentor for A players in coaching, marketing, and community building. So this is an actual core of what I do.
Let's go back to the beginnings of your life. Where exactly are you located right now?
Oh, I'm in London, UK. Okay. What about you?
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, the center of the United States.
Oh, nice. I just had a student from the United States that we went to train in Costa Rica, and that was fantastic.
Yeah, I actually was in London. So I was backpacking when 9/11 2001 happened. I was in a back of a water taxi in Venice. I had a flight 3 days from that point. I was going to go back from Paris straight to Kansas City. Because of what happened, the flight didn't exist. I had to flee to London, and I finally got a flight out of Gatwick. And I'd never in my I'd never in my life seen the French Foreign Legion. So at that point, they were amped up with their knee-high boots and big guns, and the world was just a different place. But I remember taking a train and going under the English Channel and drinking really good gin and tonics. And when I came up, I got into a cab, and I just did not realize that we were on the wrong side of the road. And the whole ride, I was totally freaked out. I was like, oh, my God, what is going on? So, but the beauty of being...
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's just, the only place that is really convenient for that, getting through onto the right side of the car is Japan, where I used to live as well. So, yeah, these two places. Otherwise, I often get confused as well.
But the beauty of being with the Brits is that I love the way you talk, and you all love, the people that I was interacting with at the hotel, they loved the way we talked. We would just sit there and listen to each other, and the way that we used our English and the colloquialisms and metaphors and ironies and all of that. We were just enamored. It was wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can relate to that.
So let's go back to the beginnings of your life. Tell me where you were born and raised. And we all have these seeds that get sprinkled in us that become who we are. You're obviously very highly driven. There's a lot that goes into who you are. How did all of this begin, and how did it grow and sprout into who you are?
All right. Well, it's a slightly unusual story. So with me, I was brought up in Poland. However, that didn't bear much of an influence on who I am and what I do right now. And in some regards, I would say that there was hardly any influence or any bearing whatsoever. But if you would like to know more of the origin story, in my case, it goes a lot further back, because I'm one of those people who remember their past lives, and my inspiration, my knowledge, and some of my skills actually go way back in history before this particular lifetime. And I know this may shatter or sway some people's paradigms, and it's okay. That's how we grow. I'm not the only person who has this kind of peculiarity to them, although I do understand that it's quite rare. So yes, my origin story, I've lived in different places around the world over many centuries. And so my personality and my knowledge, as I said, are largely shaped by those experiences back then. For example, I spent a long time living in Japan and China in ancient times, and so I still speak fluent Japanese today. And also some of my mannerisms, even my body language. So people say, you move and you talk like an Asian person. And I'm like, well, yes. And I just smile, because obviously I don't always explain why that is. But this is what really shaped me as a person, I would say. Even my flagship book, The Lightwatch Chronicles, it starts in Tokyo, and it's infused with a lot of memories, sentiments, and knowledge from those days.
You know, the one thing that's always been very instrumental in our lives, along with our history and how we get here, are those that we look up to and admire. Who's been a role model or a hero for you?
Well, it depends in what regard. I take a lot of inspiration from people like Elon Musk, but I wouldn't say he's my role model. I generally get inspired by people who achieve great things through the power of the will. Let's say for British history, it would be Queen Elizabeth I, who dared to go against the current, against the, almost against the common sense and custom at the time, and just lead and live the way that she felt was right. And so today, also obviously people like Nikola Tesla, so great inventors, people who really blasted their trail and shone their own light. They really inspire me.
So I'm going to take this a step further. If you could meet anybody alive on the planet right now, who would it be?
I would love to meet Keanu Reeves.
Every day,
I think we would have a lot of. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no.
I just wanted to add. I think we would have a lot of topics to talk about with him, because he understands reality on a deeper level. It seems, the matrix stuff and all the energy things that most people are unaware of, that really influence our life from the deeper level.
It's interesting you bring that up. I know that there's a lot of people that do understand past lives, or understand energy, and understand seeing things on the other side. What's your theory on that? How do you think it works for some people, or it doesn't for others? Because you hear this whole thing, well, if you relax your brain or you get into a different space, everything will open up. But what's your theory on that?
Oh, that's part of what I teach, and it's a big part of what I teach in my work. So it's true, but depending on your, I would say, mental fitness, it's a very similar thing with people who go to the gym, for example, who want to train. And we all understand that different people have different capabilities and different build. And so their exercise program, if they have a good trainer, he or she will adjust that exercise program for them. However, with self-development, for most people, it seems a lot less obvious. And so I've noticed there is a tendency to treat everyone pretty much the same. And this one-size-fits-all approach doesn't actually fit all. And so if someone wants to get really good results, just like with their fitness, with their diet, they need to have a tailored approach from someone who would talk to them, who would understand their goals, who would understand where they currently stand, who would discover their hidden abilities that that person may even be unaware of. So this is what a good mentor does. And so using, let's say, just generic meditations or generic YouTube videos, it could be a good start if you are completely unaware of any of this part of the world or part of reality. But straight after that, I would recommend honoring yourself enough to look for someone who would create a custom-made, tailored approach just for you so you can achieve your goals in the fastest time possible and as safely as possible as well.
You know, every day we have things that we want to do. We're motivated. We get moving because of just our drive. What is it that motivates you? What is it that gets you out of bed, that gets you moving, that gets you to do what you want to do with your life?
It's my work. Thank you for this question, by the way. I love it. So I absolutely love what I do because I can see how much it transforms people's lives. And actually, some of my students came to me years later saying that what they've learned from me had not only transformed their lives, but also saved their lives. And so I find it incredibly fulfilling to see people becoming that greater version that they always wanted to be, transforming their businesses, achieving beyond, well, my students have financial freedom, but they achieve beyond what they've ever thought was possible. And so knowing that I'm here for a reason and I'm doing some good work in this world, this is what drives me forward and gets me out of bed excited to do my work every day.
So what is it at the end of that proverbial day that makes you look back and say that was a good day?
If I did something that I know is going to help people in some way, for example, I've posted a video or a blog or edited and published a new book, but also on a personal level, if I feel that I could do my workout, I could do my meditation, I could do my yoga stretches, and I perhaps had some deeper insights, and I feel a lot more energized, then I would say it was a day well lived.
Of everything that you've done and accomplished in life, what are you the proudest of?
That's a good question. I'm not actually sure if I even segregate or order things that I do in that way. But I think one of the most exciting projects has been my Lightwatch Chronicles book, which is now being made into a dramatized audio series by a British company called Be Here. And what they've done is absolutely incredible. It's like an audio movie. So it's a movie because every character has his or her own voice, and there is fantastic music and sound effects, and all of that is fully immersive. Just without pictures. So all the pictures happen inside your mind. And the reason why I'm talking about this book is because out of all of my books, and I have several published on Amazon. This book is very different because The Lightsaber Chronicles, many people actually compare it to The Alchemist because although it's a story, it's an epic adventure space saga. It has many really valuable lessons that are designed to help the reader on his quest for purpose, for understanding himself on a deeper level, on understanding reality on a deeper level, and actually bending reality to a degree, manifestation and all those things, because they ultimately come from within our minds. So the way we manage ourselves and the way we manage our life and our reality is down to the structure of our mind and how well we understand it. And so the Lightsaber Chronicles allows you to do just that. It's an epic adventure. You get to time travel and fly dragons, but you also get to learn some really important things that are going to improve your life, your everyday life, and your business.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the younger version of yourself, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom that you've gained and accumulated over time. What would you tell your young version?
I actually often think about this myself, and I would say that that younger version should start living her purpose a lot sooner. Because the problem with most people, and this is something that I've experienced personally as well, is that, we understand that living our purpose gives us not just an upper hand, it gives us so much inner power, so much calmness, so much excitement, and just transforms our lives. And so deep down we understand that it would be such a great thing to do, and yet so few people actually get there. And the reason for that is because deep down we're afraid. And so I would say to my younger self, not to listen to fear, but instead listen to her heart and the excitement of that new path that is uniquely right for her.
So what has been one of the best client responses that you've ever gotten from the work you've done? One of the best fan letters, so to speak?
Actually, one of the best fan letters that I received recently came from one of my students' wives. And she thanked me after the training, saying that she was mind blown by the transformation and that she had been praying for a breakthrough like that for years in capitals. And I found that incredibly heartwarming.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, and your clients, colleagues, but you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, when people ask me that, I usually answer simply, I'm the light that helps others see.
Wonderful. This has been great. Hey, before we get out of the digital door here, I want to make sure that if anyone wants to get your books, learn more about you, hire you, see anything about your world, where can they go?
Oh, they can go to neweraSuperhero.com, which is my website. They can go to a Telegram channel of the same name, New Era Superhero. They can also find me on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, whichever media platform you prefer. It's all the same. It's New Era Superhero because I train men to become real-life superheroes. That's what I do.
I love it. This has been wonderful. Thank you for opening up your world. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's been a blast. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.